Peace and ProPublica says that American taxpayers funded an artillery plant and it cost over $500 million. Guess what we produced in that plant? Zero, nothing. These defense contractors are robbing us blind. And as usual, our government and our media are willing participants in that robbery. Yaz, tell us about it.
Yeah, so the US Army had been funding General Dynamics, or GD, an artillery factory that's in Dallas, Texas, with taxpayer dollars, of course, ultimately putting $533 million into the factory. But according to a report from our own Department of Defense back in July, the factory was only using 2 out of 3 production lines by August 2025. Because the machinery kept catching on fire, and the one that was working had failed to produce literally anything. So GD nor the shady Turkish subcontractor that it was working with were asked to pay back any of the investment. In fact, General Dynamics just got even more contracts. General Dynamics, just so you know, is one of the world's largest defense companies, and a lot of the money it gets comes straight from our Pentagon. Of course, there's not been any kind of accountability, and they don't even seem to be looking for any. So the Inspector General report described the failure, but offered few specifics as to why any of it happened. It didn't name the companies involved, much less any of the individuals responsible. The report's recommendations were tepid. The Army should determine whether the contract was appropriately issued, how the money was spent, and whether any of it could be recouped. It should also identify and implement a solution for producing more artillery. Army officials deflected blame, telling the Inspector General that they didn't do anything wrong. Unbelievable. Instead, the Army told ProPublica that it would recoup its investment in the form of unspecified discounts from General Dynamics on production orders, whatever that even means. But for its part, General Dynamics said that it met or exceeded requirements, which makes no sense, but that is all that they've said so far as offering any kind of explanation. So ProPublica spoke with several people with knowledge of the overall fiasco, and the overall picture that emerged is that everything about the operation was a mess from the very beginning. Those involved described the project that it was rushed and ill-considered from the start. Congress paved the way, removing government contracting guardrails meant to ensure taxpayer money isn't wasted so that Ukraine-related defense projects could be funded quickly. And the Army took advantage, handing General Dynamics lucrative no-bid awards without knowing whether the machines it planned to use could perform the work, and the Army's due diligence was inadequate. Meanwhile, we have Pete Hegseth begging Congress for even more money for his Pentagon just so they can throw it away to contractors like this. But there is a lack of consequences, and all it does is it helps to empower these defense contractors to just take more of our money and ask for more money, and whatever they do with it, they know that there's never gonna be any kind of accountability there. But this all goes back to 2022 when Russia first invaded Ukraine. The Biden administration wanted to help the Ukrainians by sending them aid, including artillery shells. But first we had to fund them and produce them. So Ferhat Gezen, who is a man of Turkish descent, which seems relevant, was running the General Dynamics Ordnance and Tactical Systems business. And he said he could make the shells because he had just purchased an old factory that was producing these types of shells over in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So because he had that factory, he was able to win the contract, and he said he was gonna produce all these shells to send to Ukraine. So he also then said he was gonna, let's use a new technique, not the one that we've been using for over a century, but let's use a new technique that was untested. And that would require him subcontracting from a Turkish company called Repcon. And the company said that they provided turnkey production facilities in the metal forming industry. So Gezen said that with more modern technology, he could produce more of these shells more quickly, which is what Biden was looking for. But Repcon was never properly vetted, nor was it ever given a Pentagon contract because there was no time. So by November 2022, they got the money that they needed. They were supposed to get up to $600 million if they saw everything through to the end. But really, Congress gave the Department of Defense the authority to spend money on behalf of Ukraine without things like typical contracting safeguards or competitive bid requirements or restrictions on undefinitized contracting actions. So the factory finally opened in May 2024, but it was riddled with problems from the beginning. There was no first article test, meaning they didn't even know if the facility could produce the shells required when they opened. A worker found a shell that was made out of plastic. The robot arms that were running the factory, the conveyor belts and everything, those were malfunctioning constantly, pushing things off the conveyor belts, causing messes, catching on fire, and the conveyor belts themselves broke down. Also, the machines were found to be made of Chinese steel, which was a possible federal violation. There was all kinds of issues there. Also, they were having issues with the people over at RepCon. RepCon was also withholding information from the people who are working in the American factories. And by the end of it, 2 months ago, General Dynamics said that AI was gonna solve all of its problems, which it makes no sense because how are you gonna use AI on this century-old technology? So that's kind of where we are right now. RepCon is operating in the United States under a different name, and the US has given them another no bid contract from the Army worth $435 million to set up its TNT factory. And the United States is now nowhere near producing still the promised 100,000 shells per month. Where's the money going? No one knows, and no one seems to care.
So first of all, Yaz pointed out that they're Turkish, so that is obviously anti-Turkist, and she will immediately be fired and never work in media again because that is so terribly racist to point out which country they're from. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was a Zionist for a second and I had the power to fire anyone who criticizes my background, anyone from my background. So no, yeah, of course, kidding aside, how could didn't do anything wrong? Well, then where's the $533 million? Or the things that we were supposed to get for the $533 million? And then the Pentagon says that they met or exceeded requirements. If we got nothing for $533 million, was that the requirement? To get nothing? And the problem is that there's some truth to that. That the Pentagon wastes literally hundreds of billions of dollars of our money, and we have no visibility into it. They do this every single year. They've never passed an audit, not once. I remember when one of the audits, they said, we can't find $400 billion. Well, here's what I do if you can't find $400 billion. I don't give you another $400 billion. I know, call me crazy, wow. And so, but we keep shoveling more money. Now the defense budget is up to 1.15 trillion. And now Trump wants it to be 1.5 trillion. So this is one particular story. There'll be many others just like this. There are already many others just like this. And then when you ask them, we get like this Kafkaesque answer. Oh, once we receive nothing for $500 million, we have met or exceeded requirements. Okay, so, and they said, don't worry, we're gonna get unspecified compensation. Yeah, I rest assured now. That gives me such peace of mind, the way you haven't specified it. And then lastly, I don't want a single more no bid contracts. So the Pentagon is famous for this. They start a war and then they go, well, golly gee, we're in the middle of a war and there's nothing we could do. So we had no competition at all. We killed the free market, we killed capitalism. We keep saying, oh my God, that lady in Wisconsin, socialist, communist. No bids are allowed. The marketplace is dead. Who's my friend? Oh, you? Yeah, you're getting $500 million. Oh, you greased me a little bit. You're getting $2 billion. Oh, you're Dick Cheney's former company, Halliburton, who gave him $34 million on his way out as a thank you present for the no bid contract we're about to get. You're going to get tens of billions of dollars. What do you mean no bid contract? By the way, we also can't negotiate drug prices. They killed capitalism, and the press never told you. Because the people who killed capitalism work for corporations. And now we live under corporatist rule. So the corporatists don't want you to know there are no more free markets. And why do we have endless wars? Yes, partly because of Israel, because Israel demands endless wars no matter what. You're never allowed to get out of them, and you're gonna spend trillions of dollars fighting Israel's wars. But that's only part of the equation. Another giant part of the equation is these defense contractors whose main line of work is robbery. So, we have the greatest military in the world because we waste billions of dollars on things that don't get built. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, then obviously we crushed Iran and the Strait of Hormuz is open, right? Yeah, no, we didn't consider drones. We spend trillions of dollars a year and we didn't consider drones? Ukraine, Russia, that war's been using drones for years and years. You didn't think Iran could produce drones? We already knew they had drones. Yeah, I know, but the aircraft carriers and the nuclear submarines are super expensive. That way we make a lot more money. They're nearly useless now. And nearly everything we built for trillions and trillions is useless because of $50 drones. But golly gee, did we spend all your money on us? And it's now totally wasted, and in some of the cases, you literally got nothing back? Oh, well, we have met or exceeded requirements. Yeah, they have for themselves. They have met or exceeded the mansions and the yachts they wanted, and they robbed all of us to do it. So until you get money out of politics, all of our dirtbag politicians will get bribed by these criminals for the rest of our lives, and they will take our money and funnel all of it to the criminals that they work with at the Pentagon, at Big Pharma, at Big Oil, in Israel, at Big Sugar, and lobbies you can't even imagine, okay? The whole exercise of politics today is not about democracy. It's about the great American robbery. How much can corporations and foreign governments bribe our politicians to steal our money? How much of our money will be stolen until we regain our country and our democracy, get money out of politics, and actually serve American voters? Until that day, don't get surprised when you see stories of we spent $533 million and got absolutely nothing in return. That's not the bug, that's the feature. A lot of these criminals got rich off of that at your expense because of the legalized bribery we have in this country. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.